Hello and welcome back, this is ProTaleDev back with another Dungeon Farm Tycoon game. What we're going to be looking at today is some of the minor changes I've done and some of the things that I've added. So the first thing I mentioned in the last video at the very end was I made some pixel art that matched the game. Partially something I could just create really quickly, really fun, and here it is, it's in the game now and I've added it in. And you can actually place this and have a look around, and you can already see there is the shop for swords, for weapons here. So let's just press play and show off what we've got. So straight away you should notice immediate changes is the icons at the top are now completed. They also have some of the newer icons like the gold and the star and things like that, as well as the food which is a spoon and a plate of food and some water and things like that. We also got an adventurer now, which is very cool. So they got adventure animation, as well as the clock is a little bit different as well. Found that it looks a little bit better this way. It's a little bit easier to kind of see, and it's not in the way as much. Of course, with all our new art, we need to show it off in our new toolbar. So this is our toolbar in our shop. This is the menu. So I've made some minor changes to this, so you can see the different types now. We've got lots of different objects that I need to go. So the first thing we have here in housing is a bungalow, a house, a inn, a large inn, and a tower. And with each one increases the housing amount the amount of people that can house, and that increases the chance of a person staying. Of course, the more housing we have, the more room we have for people to stay, and this means that we'll get more experience. We're going to keep more veteran adventurers. Of course, we have our shop, so our weapons, our armor, and our potions, and with each one, of course, increases the things that they can buy. At the moment we've got 9 gold, so people are buying from this store. This is the basic store that you start off with, and it's a very early one. It's just a stall. You have a small, a more advanced stall, then you have a store, and then finally you have a marketplace. In water, you start off with a simple well, as well as a reservoir and a cistern. So I hope I'm saying that right. But basically with each single one it'll increase the water amount, so I think it's 2, 4 and 8, and also we have multiple sizes, which I'll show in a minute. Next we have food, which is, I think this is wheat. Let me just increase the gold a second. Let's restart this a second. Now the icons are red, so it's a little bit harder to see the icons, but that's just to show that you can't actually purchase them. So I think this is wheat, barley, corn, potatoes, and an apple tree. I think that was it. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that was it. Then what we also have is we have our dungeons set up. So at the moment there's just 3. This is just a standard cave, very small, very basic. Then we have a mine, and then finally we have a castle, which is 4 slots wide. Now I can show some of these now. So this is the, we'll show it in a minute once we've got a lot of gold. We'll let this run a little bit. But we do have these different icons that can be placed. You can see it's still slightly grayed out. I think it's the right amount. But yeah. Next we have the scenery. And then finally we have the paths, which are very, very similar to how the things we already showed. Of course, you can minimize it and maximize the toolbar to be able to see the menu. The level is also, I've added a bit more foliage and items, assets to the environment, just because it looks a little bit boring. So we've got a little bit of pebbles here that adds a little bit to the background, some trees and a forest and things like that. Of course, you can still get rid of a lot of these trees and a lot of these scenery if you want to, and if you want a little bit of money. But obviously the green ones still can't be removed. So you can no longer place items now on scenery. they have to be removed. So as you can see, I can place that down, but I cannot place a path on scenery, and I cannot place scenery on top of another scenery. It has to be removed first. The next thing I want to show is you can now zoom out and zoom back in, as well as move the camera around. This is going to be very important for a bigger landscape. At the moment it's not crazy important, but eventually you will need to be able to do that, and zooming in will be quite nice as well. Another thing I want to quickly show is that I've actually removed happiness. I've actually removed fear and just left happiness, specifically because having fear and happiness didn't really make sense since they both determine the same thing. I just used it to compare them against each other, but I could already do that with a maximum happiness and current happiness. So now instead of fear we have just happiness on its own. The other thing is that you can now see the average happiness of our adventurers in the island. So this is quite nice because now we can determine that they aren't actually quite happy. They're below 50%. Oh, it did go up a little bit. That means they probably bought something that was quite of high value and had a successful run, positive environment. So just going to wait for someone to actually leave, and hopefully you'll see. Here we go. So let's see if our average has gone up. So whenever an adventurer leaves, that's when it tells us. So it's actually the same. So it must have been just below 44.1%. I think it maybe changed a little bit, but this is a good way of knowing if the what the happiness is overall. So this actually overall happiness is more like satisfaction. Their overall satisfaction so far on the island. The next thing I want to talk about is that there's actually more now random buying balance for the adventurers. So the adventurers now have more gold and more information. So in the last video I showed all their different stats and things that they can do. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to click on them, and what you can now see is that when I click on a specific individual, you can see all their different stats. So experience 50%, current gold is 0, their equipment rating, you can see their current happiness, as well as their dungeon visits, their house visited, shops visited, and if they want to stay, and their current action, which is currently in a dungeon. So this guy's currently in a dungeon. His experience is actually going up, which is quite nice. We also have the happiness is still 50%. They still want to stay because it's at 50% or above. I think that's when they decide what they want to stay or not. Okay, and now as you can see, their action is now going to the shop. Their stats have changed slightly. Whenever you hover over a specific person, you will actually see new stats. So currently in shop, currently in dungeon, and this is just a quick way to update. Though I might change the way this selection works. I'm trying to build up a little bit of gold here. Obviously we lose some gold with every death, and we do lose happiness with potential deaths. But at the moment we've actually got a rating of 15, so that's actually pretty good. We're actually getting some positive ratings when they finish and leave the park. We've also got 5 at the moment. Our maximum capacity is determined by our dungeon. What dungeons we have, that determines our maximum population. But as you can see, what we got here is, we just unlocked enough gold for our, I think this is soybeans. It's not actually barley, I think it's soybeans. But we do have enough to show some of these. So we have a reservoir, different, and what I'll probably do next time is I'll actually work on the amount of water and food and have them have an impact on our island. At the moment they don't. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you some of the buildings, one that are actually placeable, ones that are finished. So to do that, I'm going to increase the amount of gold I've got. So let's just increase it a little bit more to, I don't know, something like that. And what we're going to do is we're going to be able to click on any of these objects. So some of these are obviously bigger than just one square, and this took a little bit of work, a little bit of coding, but basically you can now place these in certain spots if it's free and no items are there, and you can place them in things like 2 blocked or 4 blocked radius. So the first thing I'm going to do is, this will also show some of the stats at the top. So we got a tower here, and what I can actually do is I can place a tower right there. And as you can see, it's now gone to 10 from 2, so that's 8. We can also add in, maybe let's get rid of some of the scenery around here, and what we can actually do is we can add in something like a reservoir, maybe like here, and let's also add in one of these. So water is now at 9. We can also add in a marketplace, maybe like oh, we need more paths at the moment, so let's just add in some paths. So let's add in a marketplace, which is what I want to show, but let's add in maybe a right there. So there we go, we've got a marketplace. We can make it look like it's a little bit more enclosed, and what we're going to do is we're also going to show some of the food types, which obviously needs to be connected to a path potentially. And then we're also running low on money, so we can actually show you the castle, which is the biggest dungeon you can put down. Again, though it doesn't look like much on the surface, what you're going to be able to do is click on them. There'll be a UI that comes up saying open, and hopefully you'll then be able to see all the different things you can do with dungeons. But hopefully what I'm doing here is I'm just showing you some of the things you can do at the moment, like that. So as you can see, 16 housing now. We've got 5 people who we've got 5 people who are housing at the moment, who are actually staying, as well as 16 housing slots maximum. We've also got a population of still the same, which is 10, but if I put down a castle, let's just get rid of these 2 and then put down this castle, then you'll see that our population is now 40. What we can also do is we can also, and that's already set, so we can, the higher the rating of course, and the higher the population, the more people will get eventually, which is what we ideally want. So hopefully that's made this game a little bit clearer about what's actually happening, what we've got so far. Next, what I'll be doing is kind of editing, hopefully be going into the dungeon aspect, making your own dungeons, because that's kind of what this Tycoon is all about, as well as potentially fixing some issues and fixing some of these stats. So things like food and water need to actually do something, and maybe trying to edit the rating a little bit, because the rating is a little bit slow, getting gold is a little bit slow, so, and even though we are getting more and more people, it does feel a little slow for a lot of times. Some of the stats also I feel like don't really work as well yet, so I'll be doing that now. So this has been ProTaleDev, and I'll see you next time.